Good afternoon. It is for us here. I don't know what it is for you. Let me just have a look at my volume knob on my phone, because I seem to be getting a bit of an echo. Let's try that. That's better. Got one of my sliders wrong. Here we go. My name is Helen Jennings, and I am based here in Northamptonshire, and it's lovely as always to join you on this Stamp Around UK video hop. And for this month of May, where's the year going? We are having a theme of tone on tone. Let me bring in my downward facing camera and I will show you what I have got to play with to create a project in tone on tone, with a tone on tone technique involved. So I'm going to take a piece of basic white card. I'm going to create myself 2 card bases, not because I am going to use 2 card bases, at least I hope not, unless something goes dreadfully wrong. Just it's easier to create 2 at one time. So I have scored that. If you don't make card bases regularly, I've scored that down the middle at 10.5 centimetres, and I'm going to cut it just shy of 14.9. Officially it's 14.85, so I don't get too hung up on how near the 0.5 I am. It's somewhere between 14.8 and 14.9. I will class that as being near enough. So we'll just fold those. I've sort of used that notch on my trimmer to butt the edge of my card up and give that a good fold. So we have a card base. Somewhere I have a bone folder. We can give that a bit of a good fold with. So here's a basic white card base. I've also got a piece of Peaceful Pine. I've decided that I'm going to use this new upcoming in colour that will launch to everybody on May the 5th, so this coming week. Beautiful green, but if you do not yet have Peaceful Pine, you could do a very similar thing with any of the greens, really. You could do Shady Spruce, Garden Green, Old Olive, whatever you fancy. But I decided I'm going to use the new Peaceful Pine for my mat just here. So on my mat, I'm going to use and take the Fern and Flora stamp set. I've been using this quite a lot since it's hit my desk. It is really rather lovely. You've got these lovely stamped images with a couple of ferns, some floral images, little butterfly and moth, some sort of backgroundy images there, as well as a few nice sentiments. And then die wise, you've got some really nice ferny dies, sort of detailed dies that you could cut out, as well as having the dies that will cut out your stamped images, and also having these little pieces here that will make you up some adorable little flowers. Flowers are beautiful, but they are fiddly. So if you don't mind taking time to do a little bit of fiddling. I was thinking that I'd been very organised and put everything onto blocks, but I have forgotten one. So let me take this one out. Let's find a block to put that on. I should use this block. Right, so I'm going to take this stamp just here. So this one, so the smaller of the 2 fern images. And I'm going to take my Peaceful Pine ink. And I found the best way that to open these up is I flip it up so that the back piece is facing upwards. Take that off. That reveals your pad just there, and then just slip the lid underneath, and the magnet means that it automatically just holds, so that I know that I've got my lid attached to my ink pad, and I'm not going to lose it on my desk. I lose everything on my desk. Anything that I can do to prevent loss on my desk is always a good thing for me. Now, obviously, these new ink pads are felt pads rather than the foam pads that we have been used to. I am finding them beautiful to use, but if you are struggling, it may just be that you need to press slightly harder perhaps to pick up your ink. It's worth, I haven't done it, but it's worth having a foam pad, because all of our stamps are photopolymer now, having a foam pad underneath your cardstock if you are having any problems, but as you notice, I haven't done that. So do as I say, not as I do moment. I'm just going to add, I've just gone in and I've done lots of those ferns all over that piece of cardstock. So a piece of peaceful pine cardstock that's 14.4 by 10, peaceful pine ink on the top, very definitely tone on tone. So that is our sort of first little layer that we're going to put down, and we'll stick that in place in a minute. The other thing I'm going to do is another way of doing tone on tone. I'm going to take a piece of peaceful pine cardstock, and as you can see, I've already been using this piece of peaceful pine cardstock. Lift off the lid, pop it on. I'm going to take some Versamark. Now, there are a couple of ways of using Versamark to get a tone-on-tone effect. I could quite simply ink up, and this is the bigger of the fern stamps, I could quite simply ink up my fern stamp, and I'm sure I'm going to squeeze that on there, yeah, and just stamp it. Now, this very definitely I should have put a foam mat underneath, but I think we should be okay. And the Versamark itself will give you a tone-on-tone effect. So you could just completely leave it like that. However, I'm going to take some clear embossing powder. And I didn't use my embossing buddy, so fingers crossed I'm going to be lucky. I've got away with that quite nicely. Use a little bit of a brush. Always best to use your embossing buddy before you stamp with your Versamark. I had previously, with the other two that I cut out, used an embossing buddy, so that's probably why I've got away with that quite so nicely. So clear embossing powder. And before I heat that, I'm going to take the little butterfly image, and I'm going to ink that up with Versamark. Put up the top there. I'm going to add some white embossing powder to that. Apologies if I've warped that. Now I'm going to be quite careful, because what I don't want to do is get clear embossing powder in with my white embossing powder. Now I may not be quite so lucky there. There we go. So we've got our fern leaves that have got clear embossing on, and we've got our little butterfly that has got white embossing on. Got a cup of tea here that has absolutely nothing to do with this project at all. I am going to take a slurp before I put on my heat tool and heat up this embossing powder. Let it get hot before I start. And here we go. Hopefully, yes, you can see that quite nicely. How that clear embossing really stands out in a tone-on-tone way. Let's do our little butterfly. There we go. So it's a lovely way. Clear embossing on top of cardstock gives you a really nice tone-on-tone effect. So I've got my die that is going to cut out my large fern there, and I've got a die that is going to cut out my little white butterfly. That's on there. My emboss machine just next to me, just slightly off camera. Wind that through. There we have our leaf, and where have you gone? There you are. Back them out. Here's our little butterfly. Now I did go ahead and do some other die cutting before starting to record, just to save a little bit of time. So here I've taken some of the branching out dies, and I've cut a label from Peaceful Pine and a label from Basic White. And onto that, I thought I would take this sort of background stripy image and just do a little bit of stamp detail. At walking his stamp all over your ink pad. I'm actually going to stamp that off and just make it second generation, so it's a little bit paler. So just a little bit of detail on that white label. So we've got our fern piece just here. Also, you noticed the gaps in that piece of cardstock. I've actually done one fern leaf that I've heat embossed in white and another of the clear embossed leaves. So we've got 3 of those leaves on there that we can arrange. We have our little butterfly that we're going to be able to arrange somehow. Decide how that goes in a moment. Then we have our tone-on-tone in the background. We have our labels. We have our fern pieces. We have our butterfly. Also in the stamp set is this sort of outline of this label, and we have the die that cuts this label in with the die set. And there's a couple of different sentiments there. I've picked out the one that says thankful for you. So I've got a little bit of basic white there. That on there. To lay this down and pick it up again. Again, I'm going to walk that stamp across the surface of my pad. Look at that. I'm going to take this one and I'm going to walk it over the surface of the pad. Tap, tap, tap. And that was only just going to fit in there. I hope my head didn't get in the way there. Oh, oh! I didn't pick it up on that bottom one. Let's try that once more. That's better. Let's come back in with our other one. Just stand up for this job. Not bad. Slightly wonky, possibly. No, I don't know if it is actually. I think it's just the label that's wonky. Right, so we have our die that is going to cut that out for us. Out like that. There we go. Right, let's have a little look at this and decide how we would like it to go. I did pick up some of the crumb cake twine. I do think rather than white, I'll do crumb cake, but I might change my mind. No, I don't think I'm going to change my mind. I think I tend to forget the crumb cake. I go to out of the twines that are in the essentials pack. I tend to go for linen thread, but it is nice to have the slightly thicker twine sometimes. Right, let us have a look. Let's bring in some adhesive and let's add come along. Really don't want this to go splurge in a minute. Excuse me while I attempt to clean the nozzle on this glue because it's not empty by any means. Yeah, come in. I'm just wary of it suddenly going splat. Come along, little thing. Never work with animals, children, and glues. I wouldn't mind if I thought it was empty, but I know it's not. Gotcha. Often just get that little bit of a plug that builds up. Now it's going to run like Billy-O because I've been shaking it and squeezing it. Right. Let us stick that on there. Stick my two mats together. Those on the front there with dimensionals. Using up the side bits of this particular sheet. So I don't tend to be very fussy and particular. I just sort of, I could snip them off nicely, but I'm not. I'm just breaking them off and adding them to the back of there. Once it's stuck in place, nobody's going to see what's happening on the back. And then put that just slightly off centre. And then we have our fern pieces. So let's see. Do we want them? How much would we like them to spread out? I want the white behind and the green in front. Now I think I like the idea of the white just breaking up that green in the middle. I quite like that, I think, with it sort of fanning round. A fan of ferns. So I'm going to put a little bit of a dimensional just on this end, just here, where it's going to overlap the end slightly, just to give that a bit of support. I'll do the same with this one. Bit of a dimensional on the end. And then squiggle of glue. And we'll have that. We don't want it to go over the edge of our card, so we'll have it just so that it's coming down like that. And this one, again, we'll add some dimension, some dimensional to this tip piece just here. Let me just trim that off. It doesn't overlap, and then some wet glue. The multi-purpose adhesive to that bottom piece just there. Have our little bow. We have our sentiment. I think we'll have coming across here. I'm going to take my scissors and just put a little strip dimensional for this end. A little glue dot or add fine. I have that twine sort of sitting where those pieces meet. And then we'll put some adhesive on that end as well. A bit of a fiddle in the middle here with our thread. Now we have our little butterfly. Let's just give her a bit of a bend and a bit of shape. Add that on the end of this sentiment banner piece just here. And then we've got some of the in-colour butterflies, the new in-colour butterflies that are coming up. Let me grab some of the peaceful pine ones. Pop one down there. And we'll have a little one up there. And I can put another little one up there. So there we have a couple of different ways of doing some tone on tone. We've got tone on tone in the background there, where we've stamped that background. We've got tone on these larger fern pieces that we've created by heat embossing with clear embossing powder. And that also obviously gives it a bit of shimmer. And then we've added in some white as well with the butterfly and that second large fern leaf. So I hope you enjoy that project and that you will hop around. Ensure that you hop around. You'll find all the links below and hop around and have a look and see what everybody else has been doing for their tone on tone projects. See what they've been creating and what they've been making. And we will be back hopefully for June. Nearly halfway through the year at that point, but do enjoy all of the projects in this Stamp Around UK hop, and I will see you very soon.